apparently it's easier to do in 15. I mean, again, if X-Ray Girl's not going with me, so... Oh, hello. So maybe I can see what's going on with Angel and Leona while I'm in town. No, I'm kidding. I love my wife very much, and 2D women are not better than 3D. Everybody, they're not. I know the argument can seem compelling to be like, yeah, well, I mean, they'll never leave you, though. And they also never age. They stay exactly as hot as they always are because they're fictional drawings. It's like, yeah, I understand that argument, but understand that it's insane, okay? Like, it's not a good one. It's one that people make. It's silly, though. You should probably still also try to interact with actual people. As strange as they can be sometimes. But also, I mean, if you decide that you're just a person that likes being alone, that's also kind of okay too. It's just, I would avoid trying to make the argument that having a 2D waifu is better than having an actual relationship. Just don't make that argument, because it makes you look silly. And I don't want you to look silly. I want to be your bro, at least, you know, to a reasonable extent. I'm not gonna like, I don't know, assign your passport reference or anything like that. But I'll try to do what I can to give you advice that's okay. Also, that's kind of why X-Ray Girl and I are going to do our little answering relationship question show. Where, actually here, I have the place pretty much set up for it. There's the other arcade stick over there. That is, I guess you can't really see it because it's the mic's actually stretching off into the distance, but there's another microphone there and another arcade stick, so we were thinking about playing some arcade games together and answering relationship questions. I'm looking forward to it though, because I love my wife. I like hanging out with her. She's a nice lady, and she pretty much looks like Bayonetta. So, you know, there's that. 2D waifus aren't real, though. I mean, they're real in that they exist as 2D people. You know, I guess I'd probably use the term real people, but I mean, they're characters. You know, it's you can fall in love with an idea, and I honestly don't mean to. It's weird because every time you want to talk about stuff like that for guys that do get kind of deep down, they like, oh no, I'm not looking for a real woman. I just have like my waifu. I mean, I chuckled there because it sounds silly, and I think it would sound silly to any normie. And I don't mean normal person like, oh, a person who's like not insane. I mean, no, normie like someone who doesn't understand internet culture. You know, they don't hear the word waifu and say anything that makes any kind of sense. Or if they do, they think it's just someone saying wife in a strange way, which I suppose it is, but it has an actual cultural definition within anime fandom and video game fandom to an extent, because there's a lot of crossover there. Both are very art forms very heavily rooted in Japan. You know, weeb culture has a lot to do with video game culture and vice versa. But I think that the danger in trying to make the argument that it is better to express feelings of intimacy and passion for someone who doesn't exist because it's safer, and just being like, yeah, well, like, no, I don't get hurt, I don't get taken advantage of, I don't get rejected, I might not feel the warmth of an actual human being, but honestly, I kind of don't care. It's a lot of pressure when I do. Like, you might have your reasons for being like, anytime I've been with an actual woman, it feels like, I now have all this work to do, and I might fail at it, and I might be judged, and it's scary, and maybe this being with real people isn't what it's cracked up to be. I actually do kind of understand that mentality. It's not the way I operate, personally, but it's okay if you do. Oh, double KO, look at that. What are the odds? It's also deeply I mean, it's deeply depressing, but I guess I guess it's to who, though? Is it depressing to who? Is it depressing to other people observing the person if that person is happy? Because, yeah, I guess you could say that's depressing, but it's like, no, like, I don't need another human's companionship to get satisfaction from, get the type of companionship and satisfaction that I want, and what I want is very, like, I just want to observe people and take care of my own issues and think about, hey, wouldn't it be great if I had this fantasy land in which I was married to your forger from Spy Family? You know, wouldn't that be nice? That would be really cool if I was like an anime hero and married to this sexy anime lady. I'll just think about that every time I want to, you know, access those instincts. The human instinct for companionship is probably going to be present even in someone who is a loner. So, and I think that ultimately those people have to express themselves in a way which satisfies their desires, but I don't mean that in as biologically and sexually a way as it sounds. I mean satisfy those desires in the sense of like, hey, I have the desire to save a life, so I'm gonna become an army medic. I won't say that I've ever saved a life because I don't know. It's really hard to quantify that because it'll save them for how long. Did they eventually die of the thing that you stopped from happening? Did you save them because you found out that they had a thing that then got checked out and then they got a diagnosis that now they might actually live from when it otherwise would have killed? Like there's all sorts of ways where it's, I don't know. I might be able to say I've saved a life, but I've never been in a situation where it's like me and one other guy, and he definitely would have died if I didn't do exactly this, because I did a definitive life-saving measure. You could argue that that is a desire, and satisfying it involves performing an action. Be that action jerking off to an anime girl or working as a paramedic. Ultimately, like that, language-wise, that's what I mean when I say that. I mean, the idea of having a thing that you really want to do, that you feel like you need to do, and at least performing a function of some kind, performing an action that lets your brain be satisfied with the outcome. Be like, okay, now I don't feel like I have the strong desire to do that anymore because I've done a thing that has made me think, okay, yeah, now I'm good for a while. And like, and that's I think that's what the hey, I have a fictional 2D girlfriend and it's, look at this, I got this big pillow that's the size of a whole body and I can just hug her whenever I want and it's nice. I mean, like, it sounds silly if you're thinking about it in the context of like normal human relationships, but at the same time it's like, okay, well, yeah, I get that. I get why that could be less anxiety inducing for you while still giving you the satisfaction of that type of while satisfying that human instinct that you may not be able to avoid as much as you'd like to, in a way that is not hurting another person, not hurting another person, and not really hurting yourself. And I think I mean that by physically. I mean it physically. Because it gets really complicated if you start talking about, okay, but what if this person is like causing himself serious mental harm, psychological harm, psychological damage by doing this? I don't have an answer for that, because it's like, yeah, that's a possibility as well. But I think you could pretty objectively make the argument that if you're gonna go out and hit a bunch of clubs and start propositioning people who are lower and lower on the totem pole because you just want someone to say yes, you're in much more physical danger. Much more physical danger than if you just decided, okay, I'm gonna watch Chainsaw Man and think about being married to Makima. You know, like, I mean, there is, like, it's sillier, but it is safer also, you know? I guess that's kind of, it's why I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting to talk about, because I feel like the obvious instinct is to look at people like that and just assume that they're silly, pathetic people. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, they might, it might be a guy who's just incredible at computer programming and is more comfortable dealing with code than people, and is like, yeah, no, like, I still have those human instincts, but I honestly don't like dealing with human beings at all. I don't really like being around them. I like talking to them in short bursts, but I don't like having to have one of them depend on me in a way that is critical. Because, I mean, I'll say this, X-Ray Girl is not my dependent. She does. We don't do the red pill community style submit to each other thing, or oh well, I mean, we do that. It's she doesn't submit to me, which is, like, honestly terminology that I hate. I think it really throws people off listening to you much faster than they would otherwise if you use different terminology. But I think that we are a partnership. She's like, as much as this, to me, at least throughout my youth, when you say someone is your partner, that always kind of was code for, yeah, I'm gay. It's like, me and my partner, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, man. Like, you could say boyfriend if you want, but it's we get it with partner. But now, I mean, being married, I sort of look at that term differently, because I think that X-Ray Girl and I are a partnership. We both accept a lot of responsibility around our house, with our dogs, with our bills, with our finances. She does taxes and stuff, and like she manages our interactions with our accountants and everything. That's stuff that I'm not particularly good at, even though I'm like the autistic one. Numbers and knowing that if I fail on the numbers, it could have legal consequence. That's the kind of thing that induces a lot of anxiety in me. If you want to be like, oh, well, he's like a nervous wreck, this guy's kind of... You want to know what doesn't cause me anxiety? Human blood all over a place, and knowing that it's me who has to try to save the person that's in there. Maybe with a couple other people. Like, it's not always just me alone, but I'm the type of person that can walk into an emergency medical services situation and function at a fairly high level. I'm not going to say perfectly. I obviously have situations which I'm in a high stress situation at work, and I actually do panic a little, but I'm usually good at taking a breath, not letting the panic overwhelm me, and just doing my job. I'm much worse at keeping that calm when it's something like, okay, do your taxes and don't make a mistake, otherwise you're going to be fined or go to jail. You know, like that to me, I'm just like, that's way scarier than being like, hey, there's a motor vehicle collision and the first thing you see is a human arm. Okay, you've got at least one person who's probably dead to deal with, maybe with others. Okay, that's the situation in which I'm like, all right, time to work, and I go into work mode and do my job. I do it to the best of my ability every time. I've always at least done it to a standard that I've never regretted. And I think that ultimately is the only thing that you can do as an emergency medical professional. If you get to a call, do the best job you can, and know that the only thing that can cause you guilt is if you're sitting home after the call and you think, I didn't do my best. I really didn't bring my A game to that call, and someone died or got hurt, and it's not my fault, but I could have done better, is the worst feeling in the world. And I've never had it. I just know that it would be. Because, man, the only thing that's ever kept my emotions in check when getting home from a really intense call was knowing, I did everything I could. It still went bad. But that's life, man. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes people die. Sometimes you don't save your patient. But if you did everything you could and you functioned to the best of your ability, that's all you can do. It's all you can ever ask of yourself. And that's always kept me from ever developing post-traumatic stress from medical stuff. But I get much more stressed out by relationship stuff, by personal interaction stuff. Most of my stress comes from my interaction with other people, in the sense of, hey, this person is going to be disappointed in me, or judge me, or be upset with how I've treated them because I said something that came out wrong. You know, like that. Those are the things that get to me and that make me very anxious. And I don't think it necessarily makes me a wuss, even though those are really silly things to get very stressed about. I even objectively know that. It's like, well, yeah, no, that is the kind of thing that's like, yeah, just relax. You're not going to go to jail doing your taxes. Just learn to do the taxes, double check your work, you'll be fine. It's not that people do it all the time. For me, it's just like, yeah, I know I probably could do it. I know I'd probably be pretty good at it. I'm just scared of it, so I would rather just pay an accountant to do my taxes. And that's what I always did. So yeah, I don't know how to like do QuickBooks and do my own taxes, but it's never a skill I've wanted to develop because it stresses me out to even think about it. It's like, you know, that's $150 or whatever it is to pay like H&R Block, which is a Canadian kind of accountants are us that you walk into every year with your T4s and your T5s, which are like Canadian tax forms, and you do your taxes. But now X-Ray Girl handles it because she really likes getting to the nitty-gritty, doing her own taxes and trying to maximize tax return and stuff. So I'm like, okay, great. I have a partner. I have a person on my team who lives in my house who wants to maximize our gains from things like properly filing taxes. Awesome. Cool. I've got a partner. I've got another person that can do this. But not all people want that. Some people are just like, no, I can take care of all that myself. Being around other people is just stressful to me. So if you're like, yeah, so I would rather tack up a poster of my Shinrao and, play King of Fighters 5 and be like, hey, those jiggle physics are nice. And, think about that, and that's how I have companionship. That's like, yeah, I get it. I don't agree, because I think that what I just mentioned about having a partner, having a person that can help pick up my slack, can be good at the things that I'm bad at, can be scared, can be brave in the face of things that I'm afraid of, and scared in the face of things that I'm brave in the face of, so that I have someone with a function to be like, yeah, no, don't worry, this high stress, dangerous situation, I can get us through this because it's kind of what I do.